All right, so we're back working on the Ducati. If you weren't here for the last episode, we finally got it running. Took it for a ride. Did a burnout. It's a pretty good bike, but I have no idea how long the oil's been in here, the clutch fluid, the brake fluids, any of that. So we're gonna change all that now, so that way we know when it was changed, and if it starts getting cloudy or anything like that, we can start diagnosing those problems. But some of it looks pretty dark, so we're gonna get that all changed up. All right, so here's the tools that we will be using. We're using a vacuum pump, some nitrile gloves, the oil filter to our bike. We're using some Motul chain lube to get that chain lubricated. The brake fluid is exactly the same as the clutch fluid. So on my bike right here, a 2001 Monster 900, it calls for .3, .4 brake fluid. So we're gonna use that for the clutch and for the brakes. Now, if you don't know, the Ducati's, everything you can see about the little label right there, everything's Brembo. So it's Brembo front and rear brakes and the clutch master cylinder. So it's all the same fluid, which is brake fluid. And then we're gonna use some Valvoline VR1 racing, classic car, whatever. What's called for on this bike is 20W50, but this has all of the proper dinosaurs in it. But as always, there will be links in the descriptions to everything we use, including this and the nitrile gloves, just everything. So if you're looking for anything, it'll be in the description. But for now, I think I need to take off that belly pan. All right, so we got the belly pan off. I wanted to show you. So here's where you fill it up on this bike. And then this has a sight window right here so that you can check the level. It's supposed to be about in the middle, but you can see how dark it is, which is indicating we need to change that. So then on this side, I took off this belly pan. I don't believe that belly pan is factory because just the weird brackets it has on there. But when I was digging in there, check this out. This should go on the kickstand, tell the computer whether it's kickstand's down or not. And then look at this bolt right here. Let me see. Yeah, so this is not supposed to be moving like that. So I'm going to tighten up that bolt. It's just always fun when you start getting into these projects, fixing all the mistakes. All right, so on my bike, right here is the drain, and I believe it to be number 10 or 10 millimeter hex. So I have links in the description just in case you guys don't have these tools. So the other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have something to catch all the fluid, slide it under the bike. There we go. Almost didn't fit. There we go. Cool. It is free. That's good. There we go. Dumping all out. All right, so I can see it going down right there as well. Loosen this up, get air behind it. There we go. Well, it's all leaking right onto the exhaust, so that's fun. It looks like this has a magnet on it too, so definitely take your favorite toilet paper and clean those up. So I have my preferred method of getting off oil filters here. Oh, yeah. There's so much leverage. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna let this drain for a while to get all that bad oil out. It looks pretty old. I don't really see any glitter in it, so that's good. So it's still draining, so I'm just gonna let this drain for a while, make sure everything's out, and then we will start to fill it back up. Yep. Drips right on the exhaust and then out, so that's fun. Thought I'd show you this, the plug right there. You know, pretty well beat up. Probably have to put this on the list of things to replace. All right, so it's relatively done. I'm just gonna take a splash of this just to flush out whatever's left in there. From what I read online, we only need a bit over 3 quarts, so this is 5. Not going to do much. Just if there's any chunks at the bottom, I'd like to see it get flushed out. Yeah, see, it's actually pushing out some more of the dark stuff. All right, it's trying to get everything out. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you can see the streaks of the new oil mixed with the old. So it's definitely flushed out more stuff. Let's figure out what kind of oil filter this is. Bike Master? What is that? Anybody ever heard of Bike Master? I have to make sure to clean up the exhaust, otherwise this whole thing's going to be smoking a lot. But that's how you know you change the oil, if it's smoking. All right, I think we're good enough. Just going to clean the surface around where the bolt's at. If there's any grime or anything that came out of the engine, just try to make sure all that's nice and clean. There we go. Wait now. Don't need to go too crazy, just... All right, now, wow. Right where the oil filter was. I'm gonna get up in there. You also want to make sure that the old gasket is off, because that'll be a bad day if you have a double gasket in there. Now, you're not going to get everything off the exhaust, but as much as you can. It's still going to smoke regardless because the oil is now coating the metal. You'll probably also notice your bike will be a little bit more peppy. I've always noticed that after I've changed the oil. Man, it's really dirty inside the cavity of this. I have to upgrade to some paper towels. So I got a K&N filter. What's cool is it actually has like a spot to a hex on the bottom, so that's pretty nifty. So this right here, you want to make sure, maybe just dab a little bit of the oil that came out of there. Go around this. The other thing that would be really helpful is for you to pre-fill this and get it everywhere. That really helps if you can pre-fill it and just get it everywhere. So it's less for your oil pump to have to pump in to prime it, and the benefit of getting it everywhere, that's for you. Yeah. Alrighty. All right, that's on there pretty good. This is your fill level. So you want to see that about halfway, maybe even a little bit more, because the oil filter is not going to be completely full. So maybe just a little bit more. So you're going to want the bike level this way. So I wouldn't say doing it on this kickstand is good. Oh, see right there, you can see it coming up already. You can see it spilling out of everywhere. Isn't that fun? All right, so the level went above and now it's going down below. It's got to go through all this stuff and settle. So it's filling up this cavity and then it's filling up this cavity. So right around now, probably just want to sneak up on it. So as I'm cleaning it off here, I actually see 2 lines right here. Trying to hit in between those 2 lines. We're just at the low line right now. All right, so right now it seems to be maintaining between the 2. So I'm gonna leave it. We're gonna go on to the brakes and the clutch so that after we're done with that, we'll start it up, let it cycle a little bit, let it start smoking, and then we'll double check this. All right, so there's 3 main reservoirs on this bike. There's one for the clutch, one for the front brakes, and then one for the rear brake. So here's the master cylinder for the rear brake. Here's the reservoir. And then right here's the rear caliper. Here's the inlet, and then here's the bleeder. So what we need to focus on is the bleeder and the reservoir. All right, so we got this guy all set up. There's a reservoir right here. You just pump that. I have my finger over it right now. First thing we're gonna do is right here, we're gonna take the cap off. So this gets sucked out when you pump the brakes and the fluid starts running low. So we're gonna set that aside. We're gonna clean it and collapse it. But what I'd like to do first is suck out all of this fluid. All right, so I got all that sucked out. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just wipe out the inside of this, try to get any of the rest, because look at that fluid. So brake fluid over time starts to absorb water, and that's when your brakes start feeling a little bit squishy. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the brake fluid I bought right here. We're gonna attempt not to spill it everywhere, but all right, so I'm gonna fill this back up. I'm gonna fill it up all the way. All right, so then now I'm gonna take this, which I just vacuumed all that out, and I'm gonna put it on the bleeder, and then I'm gonna take a crescent wrench and open up the bleeder and start sucking it through. So you could do this with the master cylinder as well. So you can see it bubbling right here. You also wanna watch your master cylinder that you don't start sucking a bunch into there. Look at all that old fluid right there. Oh yeah, look at all that stuff that's coming out of there. So you could cycle the master a few times. So this is how we're gonna get out all that junky fluid. I'm gonna put in a little bit more. So as I'm applying vacuum, I'm going to then close the bleeder. All right, the rear brakes feel pretty good. We gotta take this thing and just collapse it back down into itself. Just like that. All right, make sure that's all nice and clean. Set that in there and then screw the reservoir lid back onto it. All right, so now we're gonna start on the front brakes. You can see that color it is compared to the color that one is now. So yeah, we're just gonna have to suck all that out, see how it goes. And then since this has 2 front calipers, we're gonna have to bleed each side individually and try to flush as much fluid as we can. So these have little protective caps on them, and there it goes, never to be seen again. So there's the cap, and this one, I believe, there it is. It is 8mm, so that should be pretty easy to undo. All right, so same thing. We're gonna undo the top here. We're gonna try to undo the top here. It's almost like a child-proof container with this bracket. That bracket's not supposed to be that way, by the way. All right, so I'm gonna clean that one out just like I did the other one. Try to get any chunks out. All right. Now look how much clearer that is already. All right, same thing, we're gonna put it on the bleeder. Crack that bleeder open. All right, never want to run your reservoir empty. That's a bad day. And you're definitely putting air all the way through the system. That feels pretty good, actually. Fluid's coming out clear, but now we got to do the same thing on the other side. Put the little dust cap back on. All right, so just in case I wasn't super clear on this, there's the vacuum on this side. You see the air bubbles, but I think a lot of these air bubbles are coming from the seal around this that is not very tight. So what you're looking for, so it's tight right now. I'm pumping up the brakes. Okay, I'll relieve the pressure from this so it stops bubbling. So I'm pumping up the brakes. Okay, and you're holding the brakes, and then you release this. All right, you're still holding the brakes, and now you tighten this back, and then you release the brakes, and now you pump up the brakes again. And you're doing this until there is no bubbles. Like, you'll start seeing small bubbles, but realistically we're just trying to get the old fluid out, and it looks like most of the old fluid is actually out. So here we go. Now tighten that back up. Now release the brake. Make sure the bleeder's nice and tight. These actually feel really good now. They were a bit squishy before, but they feel really good now. All right, so now we're moving on to the clutch reservoir. So you can see how clear that is now. Look how gross that is. Okay, first problem. Right here, so this is the clutch cylinder. There's supposed to be a bleeder right there. There's not one. How I know there's supposed to be a bleeder right there, let's go to my other Ducati. Same clutch cylinder. there's a bleeder. So, not quite sure how we're going to deal with that. Yeah, so I might just need to, I don't know. It's still working. Maybe I just get out all of this fluid. That's going to have to be replaced and addressed. But basically you're going to bleed it the exact same way that we've been bleeding everything else. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, I think I'll just drain this out, and then we'll have to get a bleeder for that. Because even if I loosened up, I believe it's a banjo bolt, even if I loosen that up, it's going to be letting in air from too many places to actually bleed it properly. So yeah, kind of looks like they just broke the bleeder screw off. We're gonna have to figure that out. I probably can get that bolt somewhere. We're just gonna have to figure that out, but I'm at least gonna drain this out. Okay, that thing looks a little too big. Oh yeah, well, that looks horrible. It's probably because that thing has been broken that it has not gotten serviced. I'm gonna wipe out the inside of this. Yeah, it's got some stalactites in there. The clutch is important, but it's nowhere near as important as the brakes. Still working fine. You can hear the clutch actually working. Let me show you. Since this has a dry clutch, see it moving in and out right there? Get you even closer. So unfortunately, we're just going to put that back together until I can source out probably a banjo bolt with a bleeder. Also, this looks too big for this. Well, working on your bike, you always figure out exactly what's wrong with it instead of having a mechanic do it. All right, so let's double check everything. Front brakes feel really good. Rear brake feels rock solid. All right, so now I think it's time to start up the bike so that we can see if the oil level is still good. We should also keep in mind, if the bike doesn't start, it could be because of the kickstand sensor, which we didn't realize was not connected until now. That's a good sign. Let's see. Just at the idle choke. So we are now going to wait for all the oil to go back down, and because that should have filled up the oil filter and all that, so we're going to wait to see if we need to add any. All right, just started picking up, cleaning up, and I still don't see anything on the window, so I'm going to add some more. I was waiting for it to just drain out of the heads and stuff. Yeah, see, there it is already. So because I filled up the oil filter, it probably wasn't that low. The oil light wasn't on that I saw, so. All right, so right there, we're in between the two lines. So I'm gonna fire it back up and then shut it down. And then if it returns to there, then we're good to go, and then we'll start lubing up the chain. Oil light is definitely off. All right, so now we're gonna get on to lubing up the chain. I got the Mow tool, chain lube. I'll have a link in the description. So this would be 1,000 times easier if you had a bike jack and you could be spinning the back wheel, which would then in turn be spinning the chain. Or if you had a cherry picker and you had straps or a forklift and you just lifted up the back just enough so that you could spin the back tire. So what we're trying to do is get all of this on the chain itself and not on the exhaust. So we're gonna go around. Any extra, we're just gonna sop up with our preferred paper towel. All right, so I'm gonna make sure I have the kickstand down. And then I'm gonna get it off this tire chock. And then just gonna wheel it right there. You guys might not be able to see it, but I can see the wetter mark of the chain compared to right here where it's a bit more dry. So you could obviously get this a lot better if you're able to just keep spinning the rear tire around. Also, I would take it kind of easy right after you put this on and start riding in case any grease flies up or anything like that. Tilt it over. This loop's pretty good. It's not very, it doesn't like get all over the place, kind of like WD-40 does. But that's pretty much it. If any of the mechanics in the comments got any helpful tips that would be useful, leave them in the comments. But I think that's it. We do have another project coming. If you'd like to see that, I think it is another motorcycle, but you'll see that next week. But if there's anything else, like, share, subscribe. But this should help you replace all the fluids on your bike so that you don't have to pay a mechanic to do it. And everything works. So we're gonna fix the bleeder on this, and before I put the belly pan back on, I like to see what's going on with this kickstand switch, so that I can try to figure out where it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to go on. But thanks for watching. See you guys next week.